You know how there's elephants in some rooms that just refuse to be acknowledged because of various reasons. Now, we talked about it with COVID many times. And what I mean by that is there's a sector of individuals who don't want something to be true. So you have people that double down, bad policy and all, because if there is a pivot or change on what they're doing, they would have to concede that they fucked up. And some people that support these ideas don't want to ever do that. So if they can keep on, no matter how disastrous a policy is or how disastrous what they're advocating is, they'll never allow the alternative to flourish because they don't want to see what happens in the event that they don't do what it is they do, because that would force them to have to be wrong, if you will. So looking at this is hilarious. Let's take a look. I'm going to read this. Coming from LA Times, brutal, brazen crimes shake LA, leaving city at crossroads. Let's see what this is. Crews of burglars publicly smashing their way into Los Angeles' most exclusive stores. Robbers following their victims, including a star of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and a BET host, to the residence. And this week, the fatal shooting of 81-year-old Jacqueline Avant. I heard about that story. It was goddamn tragic. And admired philanthropist and wife of music legend Clarence Avant in her Beverly Hills home. So you think about this. And remember, this Seth Rogen, who we're going to be talking about later today, claimed that LA wasn't some shithole city, which it absolutely is, and everybody knows that it is. But a lot of people have been put under the illusion that it's not, because some of what I said before, but also, I mean, historically, really in America, it's been looked at definitely in their entertainment sector as something to strive for, as the place that people go to see success when it's one of the worst fucking places in this fucking country. And unfortunately, there's people that either go out there or live out there that actually think that they're in a better place in comparison to other pockets of the country. But this is supposed to be one of the nice areas, and they're having these sorts of issues. Now, don't think that the activists will ever be stop being chicken shit to the point to where they at least can acknowledge what the fuck's going on. And actually try to solve the actual issues. Don't ever count on that. After 2 years of rising violent crime in Los Angeles, these incidents have sparked a national conversation and led a concern about both the crimes themselves, and where the outrage over the violence will lead. The fact that this has happened, her being shot and killed in her own home, which is, again, tragic as it gets. After giving, sharing, and caring for 81 years has shaken the laws of the universe. And that's what declared Oprah Winfrey, expressing her grief over Avant's killing to her 43 million Twitter. The world is upside down. Again, it's not the world. The place that you live in is bad. As simple as that. And the policies that the politicians have put forth out there has led to a lot of dumb shit. And the folks that are in power and do have some sense of influence are too chicken shit to call it out, whether it be with gang culture. All these motherfucking activists, leave all of them alone, right? Oh, white man's doing this, Republicans doing that. It's a motherfucker terrorizing their own neighborhood next door, and they will never call them out. It's at least not with the same vigor that they would if they could somehow place some, like, I don't know, white victim or no white person who committed some sort of crime against a black person, then they're all over that shit. And this is why I talk about a lot of issues, they simply can't be solved by government. And even in some cases, if you remove them, you wouldn't necessarily solve it in its entirety because it's a culture problem. And that problem, though the government should get the fuck out the way, that problem has to be addressed by the people within those geographical areas, period. But again, like they can't even bring themselves to acknowledge that. It has to be like what Oprah is saying here. It's some fucking vague, universal bullshit. No, LA is a shithole. There's a bunch of pieces of human trash that live in those areas that are willing to kill people in their fucking own homes. And it's not going to stop until you actually call it for what it is. While overall city crime rates remain far below records set during the notorious gang wars in the 1990s, violent crime has jumped sharply in L.A., as it has in other cities. Much of the violence has occurred in poor communities among vulnerable populations. Well, the Beverly Hills one doesn't deal with that problem, such as homeless, and receives little attention. However, since the start of the pandemic and more rapidly in recent months, crime has crept up in wealthier enclaves and thrust its way into the center of public discourse in L.A. against a backdrop of COVID-19 angst, evolving political perceptions of what role police and prosecutors should play in society. Now, a holiday season upon which brick and mortar retailers are relying to stay afloat. Some wonder if this could be a turning point for California, which for decades has been the center of a movement for criminal justice reform, rolling back tough sentencing laws and reducing prison populations. Talking about a poll that people supported many of these measures regarding reducing prison population. However, those concerned about crime, those who believe liberal policies have contributed to its rise, have grown more vocal. Dominic DeLuca, who is owner of Brooklyn Project Skateboard Shop on Melrose Avenue, a commercial corridor that has seen burglaries and robberies spike sharply in recent. That's not a normal thing, guys. Well, you just get robbed and burglarized like it happens all the time. And said things have gotten so bad that he carries a gun to work. I mean, yeah, that's one way to fight it off. That's for fucking sure. More people should do it. And desperately wants ramped up enforcement. I have never seen anything like it, he said. In the last 2 years, I've been broken into 3 times. At a Tuesday press conference, Mayor Eric Garcetti, who is a fucking shit bag, and Los Angeles Police Department Chief Michael Moore said more offenders should be locked up and question pandemic-related policies that have allowed many nonviolent arrests to be released without bail. Moore said arrests have been made in several high-profile smash-and-grab burglaries, but lamented that the suspect had all been released pending trial. That makes sense. Garcetti, fucking criminal justice system is a fucking joke. And warehousing criminals in jails without rehabilitating them is not a solution, but neither is seeding the streets to repeat offenders. So you acknowledge that. L.A. County District Attorney George Gascon, or Gascon, whatever his name is, whose progressive policies around prosecution and sentencing many blame for the uptick in crime, was notably absent at the press conference, but said through his office that he is working closely with the law enforcement to perpetrators accountable for such present crimes. Look, it's a double whammy here. I'm one of those guys. I'm a libertarian, obviously, so I'm not the most fond of police in this country, and obviously in the laws that they enforce. But often, and it's less about it being nonviolent and more about them being victimless. Nonviolent doesn't mean that you haven't committed a crime. Not all crimes are violent, right? The issue here and how these guys who advocate what they deem as criminal justice reform is that they act like they are incapable of removing the fact that there are people that are in jail right now, many of them. Some of you guys probably know that these are your family members who are in jail for some bullshit, in prison for some bullshit, some victimless crime where there's no victim. It was a completely arbitrary law where the state is trying to legislate morality in some case and deter people from doing something. And often it's to themselves, like you see with like the drug war. That's one thing, okay? That's one thing. But on the other side, there are people that commit actual crimes that are acts of actual aggression. And what unfortunately these criminal justice reform guys fail to fucking acknowledge is like what this guy's doing, which I'm willing to bet he had to jump through 15 hoops if it's even legal where he's doing it in California to carry a gun. So there's 2 different things going on there. In California, people are basically the legal people, the people that aren't generally going to be committing crimes, okay? They have their hands tied behind their back effectively. And even in the event that this motherfucker shot someone, he would probably be criminalized by some sort of stupid California local law, okay? So you have that where they tie their hands behind the backs of the people that just want to protect themselves, basically not allowing you to effectively do so, right? Or you have to jump through a million hoops, duty to retreat laws, stuff like that. So you have that aspect, which is one. But that's not the only one. You have on the other side where you have people that are operating within this criminal justice system who, again, cannot separate actual aggressors from people that are in jail for bullshit. They're not critical of thinking that through, which is why you have so many instances like we have right now in LA of these other bail jumping and all of this other shit that they deal with people that have, like the guy, for example, that was in Wisconsin that killed those 5 people who already fucking was trying to run over like his baby mama and kid. I don't know. Maybe that's fucking a person that probably shouldn't be on the motherfucking streets. And in a free, voluntary society, he wouldn't. Motherfucker probably wouldn't have made it, to be fair. But that's what we deal with here, in that, unfortunately, these experiments are being done on these people. And you got folks who are just regular people that are in these geographical areas that are having their lives ruined because of it. And that sucks, man. As much as I say LA is a shithole, because it is, it's a shithole. There's people there that simply want to go on and deal with their lives, and they have a vast amount of cultural issues surrounding them, and the state, well, if anything, they're exacerbating the problem. That's all I'm saying. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.